All right, folks, I'm headed to North Alabama. I'm gonna see if I can build some catfish boxes because during the wintertime, we lose a lot of them. People pull them, move them because they drop the water down in the river. I mean, in that lake that we fish in up there. And when they do, they drop it down and, people get to messing with stuff. I mean, I don't know why they can't just leave it alone, but they do. So we lose a lot of boxes during the wintertime when they do drop the water level. So every year I build, I don't know, anywhere from 50 to 150. I mean, you just never know. So what I do is when I'm cutting, this won't build 150. Now don't get me wrong, it won't build many. It looks like it will, but it won't. But what I do when I'm cutting lumber, and you always come up with some busted stuff, or it's got a lot of bark on it or whatever, and instead of throwing this stuff away, I always stack it to the side, because if I can get a 32-inch piece out of it, then I'm going to keep it. I mean, that's just the way I am. Just, got to be conservative and use what you got. And instead of using just perfectly good lumber, which I have used a bunch of that too, but instead of using the good stuff on this run, I'm going to use some of this bad stuff. I got up this morning early and got this stuff loaded up. And got my cooler full of gator meat and ready to rock and roll. Got my big tank right there in case I catch a soft shell turtle or something. And then that way I can bring him back to the house. But that's what I'm working on today. I'm fixing to head that way. It's about a 4-hour drive. And then I'll get y'all caught up. We'll start building some catfish boxes and getting these things out and stuff. Checking some of the old ones and making sure they're still there. Y'all hang in there and let's see how this turns out. Maybe, fingers crossed, I've already heard of some boys up there, though, that's lost a lot of boxes over the winter, so I'm really concerned. I'm sure they got into ours too. But that's just part of it, I guess. People can't leave well enough alone. I don't know why folks are like that, but they are. So y'all hang in there and let's see how these boxes turn out. Let's put out a couple of them. Y'all can sort of see how we do it. And if it's legal in your state, you can probably do the same thing and catch big catfish wherever you're at. Y'all hang in there and let's see what happens. All right, folks, made it up here and got on the tractor yesterday. Got everything bush hogged or mowed, got the grass mowed anyway, and cleaned up the riverbank down here back behind the house. That way you can see the river down there. It was getting thick. I'm talking about getting thick. All right, I had 1x10s and 1x12s on there. And you remember I had a lot more 1x10s than I did 12s. That's probably only gonna cut like maybe 4 or 5 boxes. Believe me, folks, this stuff does not go very far. You would think it does, but that cut 10 boxes out of those 1x10s. These are 32 inches wide, and the reason being is because I can get 3 tops out of a sheet of plywood. You're gonna get 3 32-inch cuts by 48 out of a sheet of plywood, and that's the reason I make them this size. Now you can use this right here, this sawmill lumber, for the tops, but I don't like any kind of cracks in between it because those fish like to be dark. So the darker that box is, the better off you're gonna be. Now this hole, so that's the fronts and the backs. That hole that's gonna be in the front right here is 15 inches wide and then just a radius. But you can make it like you want to. If your fish are not that big, then you don't have to have a hole that big. But if you've got big fish, the bigger the hole, the bigger the box, the bigger the fish. So now we have had 2-foot wide boxes. I have made some 2-foot wide boxes, just like I'm doing these right here by 48, and caught 2 40-pounders out of them. I mean, you'd be surprised. All you're doing is giving them a dark place to bed, and it's like a stump. Like their natural thing that they would use would be a stump or getting in the bank of the river or whatever. So all you're doing is just creating a hole for them to get in and bed. So the backs are 46 inches long because these are 1 inch thick. I'll show you how I'm gonna do the tops. I don't have any right, well, I've got a few over here, but they're from last year. They're a little rough, but you're gonna cut that same radius in one end of it. And in that way, your hole is gonna be like that, if that makes any sense. And that way you can just step over in the hole and block it. And then you can run your arm up in there and get lit up. Because they will, let me tell you, they'll light you up. But just remember, The bigger the hole, the bigger the fish can get in there. So you got to be careful. You know, if you get a 100-pound fish in one of these boxes, if y'all do build them, just be careful. Because let me tell you, it can be a lot. And oh yeah, the bigger the hole, you get a small fish in there, the harder to block. So when they get ready to leave, like they've bit you a couple of times in their soul or whatever, and they're pinballing in there trying to get out, the harder it's going to be to block that bigger hole. So just be thinking about that. Sometimes it takes 2 people 4 feet in there, you know, just to hold them fish in there. All right, y'all hang in there, and we're gonna get some built and see what y'all think about it. And that way y'all can get started. Just make sure it's legal in your state to do it before you start dropping these boxes in. Because let me tell you, they would probably tear you up if it's illegal to do this. In a lot of states it is, but here in Alabama they don't. Yeah, it's fine. I think they're wanting some of the flathead and catfish population down because they're rough on the other game fish, brim and bass and stuff like that. And they do love to eat small catfish too. So I think they're wanting to trim them down a little bit so they let us do it. Y'all hang in there. Let's see how these boxes turn out. Maybe we might set one. All right, I got some of that old plywood. I had a couple of sheets left over, or a couple of pieces left over from last year, 3 or 4, I think. So I'm using those. That's a 1x10 box right there. You know, use 1x10s on the side. I did end up getting 5 out of the 1x12s I had on the truck. 32 inches wide, 48 inches long, 15-inch hole. And you see how it is. So when you walk up to it, you're gonna do like that. You're gonna put your feet in there and block. If he can get through there, he's too small for me to catch anyway. We want big fish, so all these cicadas, locusts, whatever you want to call them, are everywhere around here. And I think they're red wolf every time they land on me, so I'm freaking out, jumping around, slapping these things. I don't like wasps too much. I've gotten stung too many times. Okay, so what I'm gonna do with these is drill through the bottom, just let the screw stick out the top, all the way down. I'm gonna put 4 or 5 in there, and then lay the Saccrete right on top of it. So it's gonna take 2 80-pound sacks to hold this thing in place. Now the screw sticking out of the top is just for when that concrete hardens, and it'll harden underwater. And when it does, it'll hold to that screw so it can't slide off, so the boat traffic or current or whatever won't wash it off the top. Now you can use rocks or blocks or steel or whatever you've got. You can use it to hold this stuff down. If you're going to use something else that's not actually fastened to the box, then I would put like a ledger all the way around. Y'all probably seen me make some of those. It's got a ledger all the way around, and it'll keep those rocks and stuff, the boat traffic, from washing them off. So the lower the profile material that you put on here, like steel, plate steel, or concrete slab, busted up concrete slab works good. But rocks tend to stick up so high that they catch so much friction from the water, it'll roll them off a lot of times. So that's when the ledger comes in. And they stick up. You don't want people to be bumping them with the boat motor and stuff like that, tearing up their stuff. So you've got to put them, the lower the profile, the better off you're going to be. But that's it. Really not much to it. You just you step over in that hole right there to block it, and then when you get ready to go down, you just step out of it and try to stick your whole shoulder in that hole right there to keep that fish from blowing out, and hang on. A lot of times when I'm fishing, I don't get to catch them, many. I'm just taking other people, so I'll take a short stick, broom handle or something like that, and I'll just step over in the hole, and then I'll run that thing beside my leg and feel around real easy. I don't want him to hit. I just want to feel him in there, and then let somebody else stick their hand in there and get bit, because they will soil after a while, and then you can't get them to bite. But we do just catch and release. So we tag that big fish and we put it right back in the water. So sometimes put them right back in the box. And then that way we're not hurting the population of the fish, because you can definitely, if you keep a bunch of these fish, you're taking out the brood stock, and it's going to make it's gonna make an impact on that body of water that you're fishing, I promise you. We had a lake down south of where I'm at now, and it got super popular down there. Now you can catch plenty of fish, you just can't catch any of the 30, 40s, and 50s in there anymore. Now all you're catching is, you know, a 20, 25 pound fish is big. People are keeping them and leaving them in the bottom of the boat too long or whatever, and then they might be releasing them, but it might be too late. You got to catch that fish, big fish like that. You know, you need to get them back in the water as fast as you can. So don't go out there. You know, if you need to put some in the freezer, I understand. You know, I'm all about that, but don't keep more than you need, because it will make an impact on the lakes that you're fishing. It really will. It'll make a lot of difference, like I said. Hope that'll help y'all out. Make sure, like I said, y'all check your state regulations on these things right here. You start putting these boxes in the water and it's not legal, they're gonna get on you pretty good, I would imagine. So what I do is I set these things in the water so muddy you can't see them. So I set them probably chest deep, something like that. And then as soon as we do, we GPS them. We mark it on the GPS, and then that way you'll know exactly where that box is. And then when you jump out of the boat to find it, you just take a pole or something and you just walk around with that stick until you bump it. You don't want to bump it too hard, sometimes it'll blow them out, so you need to be easy. You don't want to blow them out, you want to get bit. Hope that'll help y'all out. I'm fixing to get the building. I'll show y'all the rest of them when I get, well, I'll get a lot of them together and we'll start maybe getting some of them in the water. Get this stuff from sliding off. Catfish territory, right here. Catfish territory.
How about just run over page with a kayak with 72 bags of saccharin on top of it? Also just chug the energy drink, son.
She's energized. Get off from under my foot, kid. Let's drop one right here because this is catfish territory. All right, the saccharin will stay in bag form. It'll keep that shape, and it'll just harden up underwater. And it's 80 pounds a piece.
You'll get that one on the back. Get those still two of them. And it's the same stuff that folks use to build their seawalls, so.
Yeah.
It ain't like there ain't none of this stuff in the water.
No, it's.
And it stays in one spot.
But don't get the bags wet.
No, because they will fall apart.
Yeah, don't get your bags wet.
Let me mark it. We're marking it on the GPS and on Hunt Stand. Stop shearing. What's that saying? Anybody else doing this would do it too far. Cut your finger.
I think it's a fish. We're gonna find out.
It might be.
It's probably gonna come out and bust me in there. I can't block it, it's too shallow.
Stick your foot in there.
Wow.
He's funky.
Come on, little dude. Come here and put a foot somewhere, because I'm scared of water.
Am I standing on you?
I'm gonna put this little foot in there. It's so shallow, I can't get in there.
He's funky.
Okay.
I hear. What did it do?
You can pull it out.
Oh, I love them when they're this shallow.
I'm gonna put him right back in there.
Is that the only
one? We're just gonna look at his head, because it's a flat head, and I'm gonna put him right back in there.
Oh, he's so pretty. He's a good sized flathead though.
Can y'all see it?
He's a muddy, nasty little dude. Ain't look at all that.
Can y'all see that fish?
He's so cute. Hey.
There you go.
That's a pretty fish right there.